The moment Lucas Carter saw his daughter Ava's eyes flicker with unease, he knew something was wrong. It wasn't just the way she avoided his gaze across the dinner table. It was the weight behind it, like she was hiding a secret too big for her 14 years. Portland's evening hum drifted through the open window, but inside their cozy home, the air felt thick, charged with an unspoken truth. Lucas, a 38-year-old architect with a knack for reading blueprints but not always people, sensed a storm brewing. He just didn't know how close it was. The dining room was softly lit, the kind of warm glow that usually made their family of three feel safe. Lucas sat at the head of the table, his wife Sophia, 36, to his right, scrolling through her phone with a focus that had become all too familiar. Ava, their daughter, poked at her food, her usual chatter replaced by a heavy silence. Lucas tried to shake off the unease. Maybe it was just a long day. Maybe he was reading too much into it. But the prickle at the back of his neck wouldn't let go. "School okay, Ava?" he asked, keeping his tone light. She shrugged, barely looking up. "Fine." Sophia's head snapped up, her hazel eyes sharp. "Lucas, let her eat." Her voice cut like a blade, too harsh for the moment. Lucas froze, his hand hovering over his glass. He'd heard that tone before, lately too often, but tonight it carried something new. Not just irritation. Something guarded, like she was shielding a truth she didn't want him to touch. He set the glass down slowly. "Just checking in," he said, forcing a smile. Ava's eyes darted between them, her fork still. Lucas caught it. The way she seemed to brace herself, like she knew something was off too. His chest tightened. After 12 years of marriage, he thought he knew Sophia's rhythms, her moods. But these past few months, she'd been a stranger. Late nights at her marketing job, quick excuses, a new lock screen on her phone he didn't recognize. He'd brushed it off as stress, told himself it was nothing. But now, watching her avoid his gaze, he wasn't so sure. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Lucas's mind raced, but he didn't want to push. Not in front of Ava. He glanced at his daughter, hoping for a spark of her usual warmth, but she was staring at her plate, her shoulders tense. Something was wrong, and it wasn't just Sophia's sharp words. It was deeper, like a crack running through the foundation of their family. "Everything okay?" he tried again, this time softer, aiming the question at both of them. Sophia sighed, not looking up. "Lucas, please. Not tonight." Her dismissal stung, but it was the coldness in her voice that hit hardest. Like he was an inconvenience, not her husband. Ava's head stayed down, but her fingers tightened around her fork. Lucas's gut twisted. This wasn't just a bad day. This was something real, something he'd been ignoring for too long. He leaned back in his chair, the warmth of the room fading. The signs had been there for weeks, maybe months. Sophia's rushed mornings, her vague answers about work, the way she'd pull away when he tried to talk. He chalked it up to her new project, a big campaign she'd been cagey about. But now, with Ava's silence and Sophia's edge, the pieces didn't fit. His mind settled on one sharp thought. Sophia was hiding something, and Ava might know what it was. Lucas forced himself to take a bite, the food tasteless. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, not yet. But the air felt wrong, like the quiet before a lightning strike. He glanced at Ava again, her face half hidden by her dark hair. She wasn't just quiet. She was guarded, like she was carrying a weight she couldn't share. His heart sank. Whatever Sophia was keeping from him, it wasn't just about her. It was about their daughter too. Later that night, after Ava had gone to her room and Sophia disappeared to work behind a closed door, Lucas sat alone in the living room. The TV flickered, but he wasn't watching. His mind was on Sophia's phone, the one she'd left on the counter before heading upstairs. He wasn't the type to snoop, never had been. But the unease from dinner gnawed at him. He picked it up, the screen locked with a passcode he didn't know. That alone felt like a betrayal. When had they started keeping secrets? He set the phone down, guilt prickling his skin. But then his own phone buzzed, a notification from their shared family calendar. His breath caught as he opened it. A reminder for a work trip Sophia had taken last weekend to Seattle. Except it wasn't just her name on the booking. Ethan Wells, a name Lucas didn't recognize, was listed too. A business suite. 2 guests. The room spun. Lucas stared at the screen, his pulse hammering in his ears. Could be a mistake, a client, anything. But deep down, he knew better. The late nights, the locked phone, Ava's unease. It all pointed to something he didn't want to face. He closed the app, his hands shaking. But the truth was already sinking in. Sophia wasn't just pulling away. She was building a wall, and Ava was caught in the middle. He leaned forward, head in his hands. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that screamed trouble. Lucas didn't know what came next, but one thing was clear. He couldn't ignore this anymore. Whatever Sophia was hiding, he'd find out. For Ava's sake, if not his own. The crack in their family was growing, and he wasn't sure he could hold it together much longer. Lucas Carter couldn't shake the image of that name. Ethan Wells. Burned into his mind like a warning sign. The family calendar notification from last night still haunted him. A Seattle hotel booking, 2 guests, with Sophia's name tied to a stranger's. He sat at his desk in their Portland home, the morning light spilling across blueprints he was supposed to review. But work felt distant, irrelevant. His world was tilting, and he needed answers before it crashed. The house was quiet, too quiet. Ava was at school, and Sophia had left early for her marketing firm, her goodbye a rushed mumble. Lucas rubbed his temples, trying to convince himself it was nothing. A mix-up, a colleague's name on a work trip, but the prickle of doubt wouldn't fade. Sophia's locked phone, her sharp tone at dinner, Ava's guarded silence. They were pieces of a puzzle he didn't want to solve, yet he couldn't ignore them anymore. He opened his laptop, hesitating. Snooping wasn't his style, but this wasn't about mistrust. It was about Ava. If Sophia was hiding something that touched their daughter, he had to know. His fingers moved before his guilt could stop him, logging into their shared cloud account. Sophia hadn't changed the password. Small mercy. He scanned her folders, expecting nothing but work files. Then he saw it. A tucked-away document labeled Seattle Itinerary. His heart thudded as he clicked. It wasn't an itinerary. It was a confirmation email for the hotel. Same dates as her work trip. Ethan Wells was CC'd, his name linked to a marketing agency Lucas vaguely recalled Sophia mentioning. No agenda, no conference details, just a room booked, with a note about dinner plans. Lucas's stomach churned. This wasn't a business trip. It was something else, something personal. He leaned back, the chair creaking under his weight. He wanted to stop, to close the laptop and pretend he hadn't seen it. But Ava's face at dinner, her tense shoulders, her flickering eyes, pushed him forward. He searched Ethan's name online. A polished LinkedIn profile popped up. Mid-40s, charming smile, a consultant with a string of vague endorsements. Nothing screamed danger, but nothing felt right either. Why was this man tied to Sophia's plans? Lucas's phone buzzed, snapping him out of his spiral. A text from Ava. Can I stay late for art club? He stared at it, his thumb hovering. Normally, he'd say yes without a thought. Ava loved art, her sketches filling notebooks with dreams of far-off places. But today, her message felt off, like she was avoiding home. He typed back, "Sure, but let's talk when you're home. Okay?" No reply came. He returned to the laptop, digging deeper into Sophia's emails. Most were mundane, client pitches, meeting notes, but then he found a thread buried in her archives, marked with Ethan's name. His breath caught as he opened it. The messages weren't long, but they were enough. Looking forward to Seattle, Ethan wrote, with a smiley face that felt too casual. Sophia's reply, "Me too. Just need a break from the routine." No mention of work. No mention of Lucas. just a shared excitement that cut like a knife. Lucas's hands trembled as he scrolled. The emails spanned weeks, each one a little bolder. Ethan asked about Ava once, casually, "How's your artist doing?" Still sketching those wild landscapes. Sophia's response was brief but warm. "She's good. Keeps to herself lately." The words hit Lucas hard. Sophia wasn't just keeping secrets from him. She was letting this stranger into Ava's world, even if just through words. Why would she share that? Why would Ethan care? He closed the laptop, his pulse racing. The house felt smaller, the walls closing in. He wasn't ready to call it betrayal. Not yet. But the truth was clawing at him. Sophia was building a life he wasn't part of, and Ava was somehow tangled in it. He thought of his daughter's quiet demeanor at dinner, the way she dodged his questions. Did she know something? Had Ethan reached out to her directly? Lucas grabbed his phone, tempted to call Sophia and demand answers. But what would he say? Accuse her based on a hunch and a few emails? He needed more, something solid. He opened Ava's social media, something he rarely checked. Her profile was public, her posts full of art and silly memes. Nothing unusual, until he saw a comment under one of her sketches. "Love this. Keep creating." From an account tagged AW_consults. A quick click confirmed it. Ethan Wells. His stomach dropped. Ethan wasn't just emailing Sophia. He was engaging with Ava, leaving likes and comments like some kind of mentor. The messages were harmless on the surface, encouraging, generic, but they felt wrong, like a stranger trying too hard to fit in. Lucas's mind raced. Was Ava talking to him? Was she hiding it? He didn't want to scare her, but the thought of Ethan worming into her life made his skin crawl. He stood, pacing the living room. The morning light felt too bright, too normal for the chaos in his head. He couldn't confront Sophia yet, not without knowing how deep this ran. And Ava, he had to protect her. But how? Marching into her art club and grilling her would only push her away. She was 14, old enough to sense trouble but too young to carry it. He had to be careful for her sake. Lucas sank onto the couch, the weight of it all pressing down. He'd always trusted Sophia, believed in their family. But now, every memory felt tainted. Every late night she'd blamed on work. Every smile that didn't reach her eyes. He didn't want to believe she'd lie about something this big. But the evidence was piling up. And Ava's silence wasn't just teenage moodiness. She was holding something back, and it terrified him. His phone buzzed again, this time a work email, but he ignored it. He couldn't focus on blueprints when his family was unraveling. He needed a plan, a way to get answers without breaking what little trust they had left. Maybe he could talk to Ava's art teacher, see if she'd mentioned anyone new, or check Sophia's work calendar for overlaps with Ethan's consulting. Anything to piece it together. As the clock ticked toward noon, Lucas made a decision. He'd wait until Ava got home, ask her gently about her day, about her art. If Ethan's name came up, he'd listen, not push. And Sophia, he'd watch her, look for cracks in her story. He wasn't ready for a fight, but he was done pretending everything was fine. The truth was out there, and he'd find it, no matter how much it hurt. The front door clicked open, startling him. Sophia stepped in, her bag slung over her shoulder. "Forgot some files," she said, barely glancing at him as she headed to her office. Her voice was flat, but her hurry felt forced, like she didn't want to linger. Lucas watched her go, his heart heavy. The woman he loved was slipping away, and he didn't know how to stop it. But for Ava, he'd try. He had to. Lucas Carter stood in the kitchen, the weight of his discovery pressing against his ribs like a stone. The Portland dusk painted the room in soft grays, but there was nothing soft about the truth he'd uncovered. Ethan Wells wasn't just a name in Sophia's emails or a comment on Ava's art posts. He was a crack in their family, widening with every secret Lucas found. The emails, the hotel booking, the casual way Ethan asked about Ava. It all pointed to something Sophia wasn't telling him. And tonight, he couldn't wait any longer to know. Sophia breezed in from work, her coat still on, tossing her keys onto the counter. She hadn't noticed Lucas standing by the sink, his hands gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping him steady. Ava was upstairs, her music faintly audible, a small shield against the storm Lucas knew was coming. He'd spent the day piecing it together. Ethan's messages, Sophia's evasions, Ava's unease. And the puzzle was too clear to ignore. He had to face it, for his daughter's sake. "Sophia," he said, his voice low but firm. "We need to talk." She paused, glancing at him with a flicker of annoyance. "Can it wait? I'm swamped." Her tone was clipped, practiced, like she'd been dodging him for months. Maybe she had. "No, it can't." Lucas stepped forward, holding up a printout of the hotel email, the one with Ethan's name. "What's this?" "Seattle last weekend. You and Ethan Wells." Sophia's eyes narrowed, but her face stayed calm, too calm. She crossed her arms, leaning against the counter. "You went through my emails?" Her voice was cold, not defensive, like she was scolding a child. "Don't turn this around," Lucas said, his pulse quickening. "You said it was a work trip. Alone. So why's his name here? Why's he asking about Ava?" Sophia's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. "You're overreacting. Ethan's a consultant. We're working on a project together. That's it." Her words were smooth, but they rang hollow, like a script she'd rehearsed. Lucas's chest burned. He wanted to believe her, to cling to the life they'd built. But the pieces didn't fit. "A project," he repeated, his voice steady despite the anger rising. "So why's he commenting on Ava's art? Why's he acting like he knows her?" For a split second, something flickered in Sophia's eyes. Surprise, maybe guilt, but it vanished fast. She straightened, her tone sharp. "You're making this bigger than it is. Ava's fine. She doesn't need you hovering." "Hovering?" Lucas's voice rose, but he caught himself, lowering it for Ava's sake. "I'm her father. I need to know who's in her life. You let this guy get close, and you didn't tell me. Why?" Sophia's lips curled into a faint smirk, dismissive. "Because you wouldn't understand. You're too busy playing perfect dad to see what's going on." Her words were a jab meant to shift the blame, but they were brief, cutting. She didn't need more. She knew how to twist the knife. Lucas shook his head, disbelief flooding him. "This isn't about me. It's about you hiding things. About Ava being caught in whatever this is with Ethan. Explain it, Sophia. Now." Before she could answer, a creak from the hallway stopped them cold. Ava stood there, her eyes wide, her phone clutched in her hand. The music from her room had gone silent, and the air felt heavy with her presence. Lucas's heart sank. He hadn't wanted her to hear this. Not like this. "Ava," he started, stepping toward her. But she didn't move. Her gaze locked on Sophia, sharp and searching. "Is it true?" Ava's voice was small but steady, cutting through the tension. "About Ethan? You've been talking to him about me?" Sophia's calm cracked, just for a moment. She stepped forward, her tone softening too fast, like a switch flipped. "Sweetie, it's not what you think. Ethan's just someone from work. We're figuring things out." Ava's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. "Figuring what out? Why didn't you tell Dad?" Her words were a plea, not an accusation, and they hit Lucas harder than anything Sophia had said. He knelt beside Ava, his voice gentle. "Hey, we're going to sort this out. Okay? I promise." But even as he said it, he felt the ground shifting beneath them. Ava wasn't just confused. She was hurt, and he hadn't protected her from it. Sophia's face hardened again, her arms crossed. "You're both blowing this out of proportion. Ethan's not a problem. You are, Lucas, with your questions." Her voice stayed low, but the indifference in it was louder than any shout. Ava's breath hitched, and she backed away, her eyes flicking between them. I don't get it, she whispered, more to herself than them. Before Lucas could stop her, she turned and hurried upstairs, her door closing with a soft click that echoed like a slam in his heart. Lucas stood, staring at Sophia. The woman he'd loved for years felt like a stranger now, her coldness a wall he couldn't break. You're letting her get hurt? He said quietly, the anger gone, replaced by something heavier, grief. And you don't even see it. Sophia didn't answer. She grabbed her keys and walked out, leaving the printout on the counter like it meant nothing. Lucas sank into a chair, the silence deafening. Ava's question, "Why didn't you tell Dad?" rang in his ears. He didn't have answers. Not yet. But one thing was clear. He had to shield his daughter from whatever Sophia was pulling them into. The truth was sharper now, and it cut deeper than he'd feared. Lucas Carter sat in the dim glow of his home office, the Portland night pressing against the windows. The confrontation with Sophia still echoed in his mind. Her cold dismissal, Ava's hurt eyes as she fled upstairs. The printout of Ethan Wells's hotel email lay on his desk, a stark reminder of the secret splitting his family apart. Lucas wasn't sure what Ethan was to Sophia, colleague, friend, or something worse, but one thing was clear. His presence was a shadow over Ava, and Lucas wouldn't let it grow. Ava hadn't come out of her room since last night's argument. Lucas had knocked once, offering soft words through the door, but her quiet, "I'm okay," felt fragile, like she was holding herself together for his sake. At 14, she was tough, her sketches full of bold lines and bright dreams, but she was still his daughter, too young for this kind of pain. Lucas's chest ached at the thought of her carrying Sophia's secrets, maybe even Ethan's words. He had to act not just for himself, but for her. He opened his laptop, Ethan's LinkedIn profile staring back. The man's polished photo, confident smile, sharp suit, did nothing to ease Lucas's unease. Ethan's vague, consulting title and sparse details only deepened the mystery. Why was he commenting on Ava's art? Why did Sophia let him get so close? Lucas's fingers hovered over the keyboard. He wasn't a detective, just an architect who liked clear plans. But this wasn't a blueprint he could redraw. It was his family, and he needed answers. His phone buzzed, a text from his friend Nathan, a lawyer who'd always been a steady voice. "Lunch tomorrow? Been a while." Lucas hesitated, then typed back, "Can we talk sooner? Need advice." Nathan's reply was instant. "Call me now." Lucas dialed, grateful for the lifeline. Nathan listened as Lucas spilled it all. The hotel email, Ethan's messages, Ava's reaction. He kept his voice low, glancing at the door to ensure Ava couldn't hear. "Sounds like you're right to be cautious," Nathan said, his tone calm but serious. "This Ethan guy's crossing lines, even if it's just work talk. You need to know more before you confront Sophia again. And Ava, she's the priority." Lucas nodded, though Nathan couldn't see. "I don't want her near this mess. She's already pulling away." "Then start with Ethan," Nathan advised. "Check his background, public records, social media. Nothing invasive, just enough to know who he is. And talk to Ava gently. She might know more than she's saying." Lucas thanked him, the call grounding him. He spent the next hour digging online, careful not to spiral. Ethan's profiles were clean, too clean, like he curated every post. But a buried comment on a marketing forum caught Lucas's eye. Ethan praising Sophia's vision on a project, dated months ago. It was professional, but the warmth in his words felt personal, like they shared more than a deadline. Lucas's jaw tightened. Sophia hadn't mentioned any big project, not to him. He closed the laptop, his resolve hardening. Ethan wasn't just a colleague. He was weaving himself into their lives, and Sophia was letting it happen. But what worried Lucas most was Ava. Her art posts, usually so open, had gone quiet since Ethan's comments. Was she scared? Confused? He needed to know, but pushing too hard could break the trust they still had. Morning came too fast. Lucas found Ava in the kitchen, sipping juice, her sketchbook closed beside her. She looked tired, her dark hair pulled back, but she offered a small smile. It gave him hope. "Hey, kiddo," he said, sitting across from her. "Can we talk about last night?" Ava's smile faded, but she nodded. "I didn't mean to listen. It just happened." "I know," Lucas said softly. "I'm not mad. I just want to understand. Has Ethan ever messaged you? Beyond those art comments?" Ava's fingers tightened around her glass. "Not really. He just said my drawings were cool, asked about school once. I thought he was Mom's friend." Her voice wavered, like she was piecing it together too. I stopped replying. It felt weird. Lucas's heart sank, but he kept his face calm. "You did the right thing. If he reaches out again, tell me. Okay? No secrets." She nodded, her eyes searching his. "Is Mom lying about him?" The question stung, but Lucas didn't dodge it. "I don't know yet, Ava, but I'm figuring it out. You don't have to carry this alone." Ava's shoulders relaxed, just a fraction, and she opened her sketchbook, a sign she wasn't shutting him out. Lucas felt a spark of relief. He wasn't losing her, not yet. But Sophia was another story. She'd left early again. No note, no explanation. Her silence was louder than any argument, and it told Lucas she wasn't ready to face the truth. He drove Ava to school, the city waking around them. Back home, he called Nathan again, asking for a favor, discreetly check Ethan's business dealings. Nathan agreed, promising to keep it legal, just public records. Lucas wasn't looking for revenge. He wanted clarity, a way to keep Ava safe. If Ethan was trouble, he'd find out. If Sophia was hiding more, he'd face that too. As he hung up, a text from Sophia popped up. "Working late. Don't wait up." No warmth, no apology. Lucas stared at it, the distance between them growing. He didn't reply. Instead, he thought of Ava's sketchbook, her bold lines fighting for space. She was his reason to keep going, to fix what was breaking. Whatever came next, he'd stand between her and the shadows, Ethan, Sophia, or the truth itself. Lucas Carter watched the Portland sunrise spill over the trees, its golden light a quiet promise after weeks of shadows. He and Ava had moved to his sister's house on the city's edge, a temporary haven from the storm that had fractured their family. The memory of Sophia's cold words, "You're overreacting," still stung, but Lucas's focus was Ava now. At 14, she'd faced too much, her trust shaken by Ethan Wells's oversteps and Sophia's secrets. Yet her resilience, her quiet strength, gave Lucas hope. They'd rebuild together. The past week had been a blur. After Ava's admission about Ethan's weird message, Lucas had leaned on his friend Nathan's advice. Nathan's discreet checks revealed Ethan as a slick talker, not a criminal, just someone who blurred professional lines for personal gain. His comments on Ava's art, his cozy emails with Sophia, were less about malice and more about ego, but they'd crossed a line Lucas couldn't forgive. He'd shared enough with Ava's school counselor to ensure Ethan's name stayed far from her, a small step to keep her safe without escalating drama. Sophia hadn't fought Lucas's decision to take Ava away for a while. Her silence after their confrontation spoke louder than any argument, her curt texts, "Do what you want," a wall Lucas couldn't breach. He'd hoped for remorse, some sign she saw the hurt she'd caused, but her absence left a void. Still, Lucas didn't dwell. Ava needed him present, not lost in what-ifs. He'd filed for temporary custody, not out of spite, but to give Ava stability. Nathan assured him it was the right move, legal and calm. Ava sat on the porch now, her sketchbook open, pencil dancing across the page. Lucas joined her, coffee in hand, the morning air crisp. Her drawings had shifted since they'd left. Less stormy seas, more open fields. It felt like a sign, a crack of light in her world. "Looks good," Lucas said, nodding at her sketch of a winding path. "Where's that one going?" Ava's lips curved, a rare smile. "Somewhere new. Maybe a forest." She paused, her pencil still. Thanks for getting us out, Dad. I didn't like how it felt back there. Lucas's heart tightened, but he kept his voice steady. I didn't either, kiddo. But we're here now. No more secrets. Okay? She nodded, her eyes meeting his with a trust that hadn't wavered, even through the pain. Lucas cherished it, knowing how fragile it could be. He'd vowed to be honest with her, to shield her without hiding the truth. It wasn't easy. Ava had asked about Sophia, about what came next, but Lucas answered simply. They'd figure it out one step at a time. Inside, his sister Claire called them for breakfast, her warmth a balm after weeks of tension. As Ava headed in, Lucas lingered, checking his phone. An email from Sophia waited, no subject line. His pulse quickened. He opened it, expecting another cold note, but found something else. A letter, addressed to Ava, forwarded to him. Dear Ava, it began. I've messed up, and I hate that you're hurting because of me. Ethan was a mistake. Not in the way you might think, but because I let work blur into our family. I should have told your dad everything. Should have kept you out of it. I'm figuring out how to be better. For you. I hope one day you'll let me show it. Love, Mom. Lucas read it twice, his throat tight. It wasn't perfect, no tearful apology, no full admission. But it was more than he'd expected. Sophia's words held a flicker of regret. A step toward accountability. He didn't know if Ava was ready to hear them, but he'd let her decide. She deserved that choice. He found Ava at the kitchen table, laughing at Claire's bad pancake flip. Lucas sat beside her, the letter heavy in his mind. Hey, he said softly when Claire stepped out. Your mom sent something. A letter for you. Want to see it? Ava's laughter faded, her fingers brushing her sketchbook. What's it say? It's her trying to explain, Lucas said, honest but gentle. She knows she hurt you. It's up to you if you want to read it now or later. Ava looked down, her brow furrowing. After a moment, she shook her head, but not angrily. Not yet. Maybe soon. Is that okay? More than okay, Lucas said, squeezing her hand. Whenever you're ready. She squeezed back, her smile returning, small but real. Lucas felt the weight lift, just a little. Sophia's letter wasn't a fix, but it was a start. A chance for Ava to heal on her terms. He didn't know if Sophia would change, if she'd ever bridge the gap she'd built. But that wasn't his fight anymore. His was here with Ava, building a home where trust could grow again. As they ate, Claire's chatter filling the air, Lucas glanced at Ava's sketchbook, left open on the counter. The winding path now had a sunrise, its rays bold and bright. It wasn't an ending, but a beginning, one they'd walk together, no matter what lay ahead.